Ducktales, 20 years later, Episode 3. The Audubon Bay Bridge, a portal through which the teeming metropolis of St. Canard meets the company town of Duckburg. A half moon lit the scene atop the high towers of the Gothic suspension bridge. A figure, visible to all on the shore but the sharpest eye and longest telescope, dressed in her violet cape and hat, practiced a slow, deliberate motion, each movement sliding a muscle gently along her body underneath her double-breasted coat. The downy coat of her feathers covering her bare hands and tail section ruffled decisively in the strong winds, causing the steel cords of the bridge to whistle and sink. No matter, however, as her body, lithe and subtle, and yet somehow immovable by any outside force, slowly, excruciating, placed itself into position in the kata. She heard him before she saw him, over the howling winds atop the bridge's tower, just inside of her hearing. Ragged breath caused her ears to prick up. Slowly, timing the intruder's precision by the labored gas, Darkwing Duck slowly moved each muscle back into a neutral position, before reaching down to her elegant bow and quiver. Knocking a single, simple iron-tipped arrow, Darkwing walked over to the edge of the bridge tower, and pointing tip down, pulling the top bow, eyeing the view over the shaft between the two eyes surrounded by green cloth. "Whoa!" yelled the Green Phantom, nearly losing its already tenuous grip on the sure-stick wall grips he was using to scale the Audubon Bay Bridge. "It's me!" Here I loosened slightly. "What are you doing here?" "I heard," grunted, beginning to climb up to the flat of the tower, flopping over onto the steel-riveted floor. I hear you come here sometimes." "Oh, you did." The arrow was finally loosened and replaced back into the quiver on Darkwing's back. "Good job. Now go away." Green Phantom stood, waving his arms, but still had the wall climbers attached by their hands, resembling two sticks of sticky fly paper. "Now wait! You're not the first horny wannabe to follow me around once you figure out I'm a girl," Darkwing said with an obvious annoyance as he sat on the edge of the roof. "It usually gets them killed. Hasn't been my fault yet, and I don't intend for that to happen." So he patted the space next to her before going on. "So, Gadgets, how's business?" "No, Chippendale Rescue Rangers is not a crossover on this, sadly." He began to step towards her. The sure sticks had stuck to his webbed feet on the ground fast. He struggled to lift up his feet from the straps, attaching them to the flypaper. He reached down to undo the buckles, but found them stuck tight. He then tried the obvious next step of peeling the pads up with his fingers and throwing the ones attached to his hands on the Audubon Bay. It worked for one foot, but unfortunately left a few feathers behind painfully on the bottoms of the pads, meant for adhering to the hard metal and stone structures. With one foot on the ground and the other off, he lost balance, falling hard backwards onto the hard steel floor. Trying one more time from a supine position, he tried the buckles one more time, working them flawlessly, causing them to stick fast to the bridge, probably never to come up again. With his fingers smarting, Louis stood and walked over to the edge of the bridge tower. "Why do you use that crap? You're obviously not used to it," said Darkwing with a look of superior knowing. "Have you trained at all with it?" "Not much," said Louis, "but it's the best stuff you could get." "Not if you don't know how to use it. Have you found your grappling hook yet?" "Yes, of course." He crossed his arms. "Well, fine. If I don't use the stuff from Gearloose Magazine's Moonlight Vigilante magazine line, what should I use?" "You really want my opinion, Gadgets?" "Why not?" "Fine. I think if you can't do anything without those toys, you shouldn't be out here at all. You should be in bed, swimming in your money or something." "That's not fair. The first Darkwing was all about using gadgets." "My dad had one gadget, a gas gun with variable ammunition. Beyond that, he had martial arts training from Goose Lee, was an accomplished, talented detective, and would frankly practice with a gun, knew how to take care of it to make sure it would never get in the way of his work." Light blushed of anger on her face, but her cheeks a few steps closer to matching her fiery red hair. "Compared to him, I'm just a bully with a bow and arrow." "You forgot Darkwing's buzzsaw cufflinks, guys." After a pause, during which Louis wanted to talk back, anything to refute her points. He paused, before he spoke, all he could say. "Thought so." Another long pause. Louis gave a sheepish smirk. "You're dead, huh?" "Yeah, so Her face turned towards Green Phantom quickly. Let's see. He smiled out, getting back for her tongue lashing he had been handling. A duck would be around 57 today, who had adopted a young female goose. I always thought Gosling was a duckling, but let's move on. Darkwing stood quickly, trying to drown out the words with a sudden flurry of activity. Louis soon followed. Of course! The Darkwing Duck fan club, charter member, former Scrooge McDuck pilot, Launchpad McQuack, Madam President, one Gosling Mallard, adopted daughter of, oh dear, Drake Mallard, a.k.a. Darkwing Duck #1. Darkwing rounded on Louis. Stop it! Just returning the favor for last time. What, you're the only one to be handed with the detective skills? No, I just don't. Why not? He began to enunciate each syllable of the next word as it came out, a triple at a time. Because a secret identity is... If I get unmasked, I can't let anyone know. Forget it. Is this an honor thing? Can't get unmasked or the ghost of Pops won't like it? Oh, and I'm sure Mr. McDuck is just thrilled to see how you've been spending his money on stupid toys. Louis flinched. That's not fair. If you have a habit of saying that, Gadgets. Darkwing turned towards the glorious city skyline. Took away enough midnight oil to power a gas motor until the end of time. What are you doing looking for me, anyway? Come to rub it in that you figured me out? No, it's just... Louis gave an annoyed grunt, raising a knuckle to rest on his forehead. I've got a lead on something. I think it might be too big for me. He gestured angrily as he spoke this, showing indignation. And of course, you're the biggest other hero I happen to know. I'm sorry for bringing up your dad. I need your help. I'm just happy that Darkwing Duck is going to be canon within the new Darkwing Duck Ducktales reboot. There was a pause. The wind whistled past the two caged heroes, or changing direction mid-blow, causing each cave to dance in the air parallel to each other. The Violet Road ghosts turned slowly. So, Green Phantom held out a small slip of paper he had hidden in the inner folds of his costume. A list of dates, names, places, and very large numbers. Darkwing took the slip and looked it over, green eyes minting along the page in a typewriter rhythm. Someone is doing some serious laundry. Louis smote his forehead. Damn it! Why can't I think of things like that? It gets easier as you get older, kid. She held out the paper. How did this turn up? Well, I used the connections. Paid somebody, you mean? Well, yes. McDuck must be proud. Before Louis could retaliate, however, Darkwing calmly bade him. Go on. Well, let's see. It's all there, isn't it? Hundreds of thousands of dollars have been filtering through the streets, funding drugs, pimps, supervillains, robbery, extortion, paid murder. It's like a mob without the mob. There's a free-flowing wad of cash that came from nowhere, and it's right back up where it started, a big circle. And you need my help because, well, he gestured towards the slip of paper. Turn it over. Darkwing Duck did. In an instant, her face lit up in sudden recognition. The ends of her bill turned up, and Louis saw this and furrowed his brow. What? Darkwing held up the rough pencil drawing. A rooster approaching the dusk of his age, wrinkles beginning to line his face, his comb and wattle only slightly strobed by the years. It would be a quite harmless picture if not for the segmented steel beak that looked quite as strong as any young duck's bill, complete with all that teeth of a rooster. Oh, boo, boo. Steel beak? You want to team up for a steel beak? She laughed. He's a joke. He was like one of your dad's arch enemies? Yeah, 10 years ago when he was backed by Fowl. He's been small time ever since Dad and Shuz forced him out of the country. Nowadays he's just an easy, glorified pimp with a minor superpower. He's the one behind this? No, he's just as high as I could climb. He's taking payments for someone higher up, but nobody seems to know who. We need to get the story straight from the horse's beak, mouth. Higher up? You mean like a corporation? Yeah, so they should be held just as accountable as the rest of us. Well said, Mr. Moneybags. Thanks. Hey! Darkwing shook her head. Gadgets, a little piece of advice. Superheroes don't do much white-collar crime. She approached, before placing the slip of paper back in his hand and closing his fingers over it. I get why you're interested, considering your upbringing. But look at it from the rest of our perspectives. You go after someone for tax fraud or money laundering. You can't just step in and beat someone up. It takes finesse and detective work. And even after you get yourself an airtight case, it could be all thrown out by a half-competent corporate lawyer on the grounds that Miss Vigilante is an unreliable source of evidence. So of course it requires you to either unmasking insane for one lousy executive's leave, or letting go and fighting crime at street level where we belong. You get what I'm telling you? Louis didn't dare look at Darkwing's face. He understood all too well that he was absolutely right. The likes of his old uncle's old rivals in business, Flintheart Glomgold and John Rockerduck, were well equipped with their teams of very expensive lawyers. Good enough to find a loophole in a straight line, but still, I'm still going. Why? Because it's a crime, isn't it? And it's funding all others' crime. Even if we can't cut off the money at the source, we can at least plug up the hole for a bit. What's with all this we-talk? Darkwing said, holding up her hands. You don't actually expect me to team up with a no-talent E-lister like you, do you? You're interested in getting this money off the street, aren't you? Well, fine. We'll go have a chat with Steelbeak, but follow my lead. Just because he's small-time doesn't mean he's still not dangerous. With that, she reached into the pocket of her jacket and stepped, free-falling off the top of the Windy Bridge Tower. Louis yelled in surprise and ran over the end, looking over the edge but finding nothing. Suddenly, Louis's ears were filled with the sound of jet engines. "What are you looking?" cried a voice behind him. He looked, seeing Darkwing Duck standing on top of the large jet shaped like a duck's face. "Remember how I said Dad had only the one gadget? Yeah? I lied a little. Hop on. Technically, not a gadget, a vehicle." Long orange legs, coated in filthy ripped crisscross fishnet stockings, walked up and down the street of the fenced-in bungalow. The click of heels encasing the wet feet of the ducks echoed large over the compound and down the street. Just over the break-in stockings was a deceptively soft-looking white rump, grown hard from the years of disuse, bleached black to a naturally seeming white from the normal, dingy, unwashed color. What little clothes they wore were the kind that suggested nudity, even where the actual nudity seemed tamed. In each dainty hand, a pair of wrinkled, the other pair bruised and bloody from ill use, was held an automatic machine gun. The women's faces, each duck's, were heavily made in deep purples and greens, with bright red painted on their orange beaks. Each of the three eyes between was dead to the world. "Killer hookers?" said Louis from the alley across the street in a desperate hush. "You never said anything about killer hookers." "You gotta have a gimmick in this biz. When the secret agent game dropped out from under him, killer hookers must have been the next one down on the list." Darkwing scratched the bottom of her short bill. "He's probably got at least one each." "One of each?" "Oh, you know, any team of fighting prostitutes will inevitably have one who uses each fetish or kink as their primary means of offense. The bondage girl, pole dancer, the whip lady, probably a night nurse to patch everyone else up. Good bet he's got a ninja as well." "What fetish is that?" "The fetish every crime boss has for having a ninja under his command." A small rustle. Darkwing was scaling up the wall to the roof opposite the bungalow. "Wait up!" called the Green Phantom, as he fumbled at his costume for a defective device for climbing up a flat wall. He let out a quiet "ah" as he pulled out a strap-on claws before applying them to the palm of his hands. As he approached the wall and prepared to begin his ascent, an arrow rained down from above, grabbing onto his cape before reeling itself up towards the roof, causing Louis to yelp in surprise as he was suddenly lifted up into the air by its neck. As Darkwing came into his vision, scowling at him, trying to keep his smile, thwarted by being roughly jerked onto the rooftop by the winch Darkwing had to pull him up. "Too slow," Darkwing said simply. "Come on." She quickly knocked an arrow onto the rope, firing it over the street, but lay down on the roof of the Tennyson house. Testing it straight for the grapple, she gave an experimental tug before nodding, tying the loose end of the rope to the jutting elevator. Grabbing an extra arrow from her quiver, one with a thick metallic shaft, she grabbed it from both ends, slinking it around the rope before jumping off. She slid down the roof, her body ready to land like a cat. Once he do her example proud, Louis pulled out a fairly simple gadget, a sort of telescoping toilet plunger, $1,000 piece of equipment with the specific purpose of copying fingerprints without powder or mess. Since it never worked for fingerprints, he figured the shaft of it would be useful for helping him slide down to the next roof. Whoop! Darkwing landed with the slightest sound on the roof, before making room for a companion. Pow! The Green Phantom smacked into the slanted rooftop of the bungalow. Darkwing massaged her temples. If you're going to tag along, at least be quiet about it. She then disappeared over the crest of the roof, followed closely by a slightly limping Green Phantom. The two figures, soon side by side, soon jumped off the roof, down into the soft, darkening grass of the black yard. Almost instantly, the two beaks were pointing towards the nearest window, and into the world of sin inside. I didn't even think that was possible, said Louis, clearly impressed. Come on, admonished Darkwing, grabbing the Green Phantom by the bill roughly. Gawk his horse on your own time, answered Louis. Each new window was a new spectacle or display of wanton sin. Louis had trouble keeping his focus, but Darkwing Duck was as tough as nails, as if he had already seen everything the world had thrown at her. There! Whispered Darkwing suddenly. Where? Louis was directed to a large square window, where, in a long hallway, was a man, with a cigar firmly in his right hand, and a pure white suit draped elegantly over his easy body. Louis could only see his back as he conversed with another man. The ubiquitous, round-nosed dog, so common nearly as everyone could go, was nearly caressed by two unclean women, one in a nurse theme, and one unmistakably a ninja. Told you. Fine! Louis scratched his head. How do we get him? I say when the guy leaves the floozies, we grab him. You got an autonet or something in there? No. Should I? Darkwing rolled her eyes. Fine. That's the old-fashioned way. We're both younger than he is, so we should be able to overpower. But Louis wasn't listening. He had found 3 stones, of nearly equal size and shape. The 2 stones stroked his memory banks, calling back 4 locations, precious locales, and fascinating weapons. And if he tries to bid everywhere, what are you doing? Rope. What? Rope. Guess it's the guy starting to leave. Get your head in the game. It is in the game, DW. Give me rope. Furrowing her brow deeply, she complied, giving him a section of strong cords she used in conjunction with her various tricks arrows. Working in flurry, Louis began working, tying knots like only a lifetime member of the Junior Woodchucks could, attaching the rope to the rock, rope to rope. Soon, he held in his hands 3 sections of cord knotted together, with a stone at the end of each end. Well, it is here in the Junior Woodchucks guidebook. It does have everything. What? Break the window! The man left with the floozies, and Steelbeak was turning towards the window, exposing his shiny metal beak to the 2 heroes. With no more time for plans, Darkwing knocked an arrow with a small explosive charge and shot directly into the crossbar of the arrow window. The small explosion was muffled, but powerful, caused the window to splinter and crumple. The rooster's face showed an expressive surprise as he saw a duck swing 2 rocks on string over his head, before launching them through the air. Soon, Steelbeak's arms and legs were bound, tangled by the momentum of the 3 spinning stones. He tried to call out, but one of the rocks snapped up and struck him in the back of the skull. He fell, stunned in silence from the blow. Darkwing actually looked impressed. Where did you learn that? South America, middle of nowhere. I forgot what treasure we were chasing after, but there was a gaucho, and Uncle Donald once again had the lousy luck to get a donkey where the rest of us got horses. I picked it up, I guess. Firing a grappling arrow and pulling the prone body out of the broken window, Darkwing smiled. Well now, gadgets, we may make a hero out of you yet. Heave. Come on, we need to get him far away before the horse realize what happened. Louis nodded, grabbing the large rooster by the ropes and blinding him and pulling him out the window. With the light dancing behind his closed eyelids, Steelbeak moaned. He winced at the pain in his head before he felt it around the base of his neck. His eyes opened to near darkness. Once his eyes adjusted themselves too. He was upside down, tied up, hanging by a water tower on some city rooftop. He could see the Audubon Bay Bridge off in the distance. He clicked his metal beak in annoyance. Awake? Can't, said the bound Chanticleer. I don't need you to answer that, wherever you are messing with the wrong fowl. A small voice whispered in the ears. I am the terror that floods in the night. His eyes bugged out suddenly. Darkwing Duck? You heard the stance of Steelbeak. Seeing the Green Phantom chose that moment to slap Steelbeak's line of sight. Now we want answers. Taking in the pair of the upside-down crime fighters, Dazed Cock gave a sneer. Go on, man. Ask away. It's not like I'll actually say anything before my gals come and get me. They won't find us here, said Louis, his most menacing voice, holding up a slip of paper. You ever hear about a sum of money in the ballpark of, say, 600 grand? Who are you supposed to be? The new quivering quack? No, shut up! His eyes lowered, signifying the inner search for something good to say. I'm the one asking questions here. Nice line, Gadgets, said Darkwing. Step aside. With deft, strong hands, he grabbed onto Steelbeak's silvered waddle and pulled. Ow, 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 ow! Hold, Scarred. Now, do you remember that money? Ducky, if it really is you out in a mask, I seize more money than that in a week. You want I should remember one specific payoff? I know your game, Steelbeak. Before my friend gets here dug up that payout, you've been strictly small crimes only. Just junkies and sex addicts dressed up as second-story men getting killed more often than pulling profits. Your little hooker army is all well and good, but for all the work there as bodyguards, they don't pull in nearly as much as hookers. Your empire is all flash and substance, and everyone knows it. Would you trust your money with to launder? I see what you want, and I ain't giving it. Ah! His waddle was sore from the pull it was given. His sensitive foot screamed with mistreatment. Still feel that way, Steel? So what? It's not like I got anything to lose from the likes of you. And I spilled the beans, and I stand for getting whacked. What are you going to do? Pull on me some more? That could be arranged, said Darkwing, her hand slowly rising up towards Steelbeak's upside-down crotch. Oh no! Louis followed the hand, right at what it would do, his eyes growing larger by the second. The threat itself, a usual one levied against him in the silk, will fall on the deaf ears, and not Louis's earnest expression caught him off guard. Louis really seemed to believe that this Darkwing pretender would do it. A sudden shrill in his stomach caused his body to begin struggling against his bonds. Get away from me! We'll let you go if you give us who we want. Her hand hovered closer to the rooster's loins. Hey, Gadgets, want to see if what they say about roosters is true? He gulped. What do they say about roosters? That all that puffing and blustering is compensation. With that, her fingers closed around the button of Steelbeak's white slacks. Stop! Stop! I'll talk! The hand kept unbuttoning. You better hurry. Unclose. Gadgets, you got anything sharp? The sight of the Green Phantom, absolutely searching his costume for something with an edge, was what finally caused the sweat-covered Brewster to break. It's... The red face dropping in sweat, Steelbook gave a flat swallow. It's for Duck! The sound of a metallic implement, a pair of telescoping pliers, falling to the ground drew both pairs of eyes. Darkwing took focus back quickly, grabbing Steelbeak's cheeks and forcing his beak to face hers. The Duck's been dead for years. Want to try again? No, not the old man himself. The company, the Duck Enterprises. They've been handing us dirty money for the past year. Liar! Raising his eyes, the Green Phantom grasped the lapels of Steelbeak's jacket. Gadgets, liar! I'll kill you for that! It was then clear that while his left hand was taking up a mouthful of white cloth, his right hand was occupied by the earlier discarded set of pliers, while he was snapping her open closed menacingly. Who was it really? I ain't lying. It was Duck's company. Both eyes focused fast on the clinking teeth of the pliers. Steelbeak nearly yelled. You could even go all the way to the very top. That new guy. The trust fund baby. What's his face? He thought for maybe half a second. Dewey Duck. The old man's nephew. He's the one you want. Wrong answer, said the Green Phantom as the pliers began sticking their way up towards the cock's cock. For a tense moment, it seemed as if Louis might actually do it. In fact, he might well have, if not for the sudden appearance of a ninja star with a breast tassel attached, cutting Steelbeak from his hanging. The free rooster instantly began backpedaling away. He stood frantically. He yelled, You're crazy, fella. Don't go. Get him! He began to run. Gadgets! But she was cut off by the appearance of a scantily clad loon, who still had appeared to be invisible until she was close enough to touch. Darkwing had ducked down under the sword swing just fast enough so he was spared a few missing parts. Temporarily knocked out of his volatile rage, the Green Phantom jumped away from the ninja whore, brandishing the pliers like a club. The loon, covered with thick, gauzy panels all over her body that did nothing to hide the nakedness underneath, chose a scared-looking Louis to be the easier target. Thus went after him first, attacking with her weapon, a long, tiny, straight sword. Louis, for his part, began to take random gadgets out of his various pockets and pouches. Taking each expensive doodad in hand, he took them artlessly towards the ninja, only to have them sliced in half by the sword, handled with the deft sensuality of an experienced pole dancer. After a well-thrown night-vision telescope, reduced to a long metal tongue tube by a gyrating blow, Louis had found his steady backwards hop had betrayed him, causing him to tip over the edge of the high city roof, and fall to the hard pavement below. As it began to peek over the edge to make sure, thunk! A thin strip of gauze around her legs was pinned to the ground by a simple arrow. Her mobility impeded but momentarily by the arrow's shaft, spun around just in time to deflect another flying arrow with her sword. She looked to see Darkwing already knocking another arrow. This one was a devious device attached to the tip. The two women stared each other down for a moment, before each let their weapons fly. The ninja hooker immediately threw her sword straight and true towards the hero, which took aim in a half-second time allied to her efforts. She let the arrow fly, striking the sword in mid-flight, causing a small explosion to shatter the tip of the blade and send the whole thing off course. In the confusion, the ninja knelt down quickly to unhook herself from the arrow, pinning her to the ground. But instead, the clinging hand of the Green Phantom, his eyes wide and yearns for survival and blood, clutched the girl's hand in a fast, bone-crushing grip, while she retaliated with the long black nails, leaving long, red gashes in his hand. Going through the pen, and still dangling from the roof of his other hand, Louis pulled on the girl. Losing her balance, the girl was then screaming out the high roof, silenced by only her unceremonious landing on the ground. "Come on!" said Darkwing as he grabbed a hold of her fellow hero's free hand. "Get up here!" In a moment of difficulty pulling and grunting, the Green Phantom was hoisted back onto the roof. He laid himself out on the flat surface, fully intending not to stand for the next day and a half. And yet, "Where are you going?" asked the same Darkwing as Louis got up and walked towards the fire escape on the side of the roof. "Steelbeak is long gone by now." "I'm not going after Steelbeak," he said simply. "I'm going after my next target." Darkwing Duck stood, running up and laying a hand on Louis' shoulder. "You don't really believe all that about my Duck's company, do you?" "No, I don't. But I need to hear it from Dewey's lips. Even if it wasn't him, and it wasn't him, I promise. I mean, someone's using McDuck Air Prices to fund crime." He looked over his shoulder at the violet-clad flapping terror. "Thanks for your help. I think I got it from here." "No, wait, Gadgets. If you hadn't noticed, you're completely unarmed. If this does pan out to something bigger, you're going to need help. You don't have to come with me. It's just my brother. You'll learn, kid. If being a superhero teaches you anything, it's that anyone can be a supervillain under the wrong circumstances." She then took her hand from her shoulder, knocking an arrow, firing a grapple. "You got a car?" "No. Buy one. Cheap and inconspicuous. Used. Paid in cash. Meet me out of costume in front of the Audubon Bay Bridge tomorrow at noon. Bring along any extra doodads you got. We'll drive to Duckburg." She stood up on the raised lip of the rooftop. "Understand?" A long pause. Louis turned and nodded. "Thanks. I just don't want you dying on my watch. See you then." With that, she swung away from the building and into the night. The rooster ran through the streets towards a long-stretched limo, but all of that drove to the back seat, yelling for the driver to peel out as he drove closer to the doors behind him. Low now, with the secondary and primary sexual characteristics safe from maltreatment, he breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, there was a voice. "Do believe yet, Steelbeak," said a voice from the other end of the limo, plunging in obscuring darkness. "What did you tell those kids?" Are you from the company?" "No." "Less." The car was small, just a two-seater convertible in a dingy red. In a lot, he had to use his eye on another, more modern car in a brown, when this car seemed to just jump out of him. License plates had long since been pried off, so he couldn't say for sure, but he could have sworn he had seen it before. I'm just thinking, if I recognize that line, that's from an old Donald Duck cartoon where the triplets tried to buy him a new car and he wiped it out of existence. Under whatever spell of fancy or nostalgia, It had worn off once he started shaking and driving off the lot. It ran like an APT. It made a noise like an electric can opener. Regardless, it was what he had to pay for, and therefore he had to work with. He had parked it on the curb at the bridge entrance like Darkwing specified. He stood by the driver's seat, leaning his tail on the door. Soon enough, after an hour of waiting, a voice popped up from behind him, already seated in the car. Sally girl. Louis jumped, almost ran out of traffic, and tried to find a very young goose sitting in the passenger side seat, wearing a very casual, almost tomboyish get-up. Her hair was long and burning red, lazily tied back in a messy ponytail. Her eyes were disarmingly green. Louis found himself recognizing her for that feature alone. Goslin Mallard? Pleased to meet ya. I don't suppose you might be heading towards Duckburg. Yeah? You're Louis Duck, aren't ya? The girl, Goslin, smiled broadly. You're a millionaire, ain't ya? Yes. He took that moment to sit himself back in the driver's seat. I suppose we've never met before, have we? Nope, never. Gotcha. He turned the key in the ignition. The car started up with a torture oscillating creak. How old are you, anyway? Before, in my first impression, you seem at least old enough, but... Are you worried about me, Louie? The daughter of you-know-who? Believe me, even if I'm young, I can take care of myself. I guess. He shifted the stick shift and pulled onto the road, beginning their journey to Duckburg. So, why aren't we... He noticed her. What are you doing? She simply placed her index finger to her bill and continued what she was doing. Searching underneath the seat, the glove compartment, back seat, under the desk, every conceivable hiding place. She then came up with a small device hidden under the driver's seat. It was small and black, obviously some kind of microphone. She easily tucked it behind her and into traffic, where it collided with another car's windshield and busted into a million pieces. Oh, and I just bought it too. Well, I didn't really think Mutt knew how to drive. I also didn't realize that we were going to do any Stigma reference. Hey, my show, I get to reference what I love about DW as much as I want. We were bugged, Louis said once the danger had passed. You were surprised? We went after a former secret agent and got away with it. I wouldn't be so shocked if every car in that lot had a bug hidden somewhere. This seemed to satisfy Louis as he drove along the bridge. The brief stretch of the city that bled across the bridge to continue the urban sprawl of the city, becoming invisible in the distance. So, why aren't we taking the jet? Seems faster. I'm a lousy pilot. Launchpad taught me how to fly it well enough, but I usually just use the remote control mode as a distraction. So a gas gun, a jet, a motorcycle. I always wonder, how did a suburban single father manage to get that kind of cash and training together? Beats me, gadgets. I only came into the picture after he had been in the game for a while. She crossed her arms over her chest. Louis couldn't help but notice was a modest but respectable proportion. All he remembers of the road ahead caused him to force his eyes back up and forward. I don't even know if Drake Mallard was his real name, frankly. He barely ever used it, even at home. Who knows who he really was? It didn't hit me until I was older that Drake Mallard was more of a mask than Darkwing Duck ever was. And of course, the writers did this on purpose. Of course, you didn't care. You just wanted to be like him, right? Same with you and Uncle Scrooge, right? Louis smiled faintly. You got it. Of course, he was ruthless, a cheapskate, obsessed with the bottom line, never stopped working even at home, completely antisocial, but, well, he was larger than life. He had principles, you know? More than you know. Goslin shook her head. Our lives were ruined by larger-than-life people. The both of them laughed at the private joke between them, looking over at each other. Their eyes met. The laugh shrank to a giggle, finally nothing at all. They gazed for a while, until Goslin uttered a single word. Road! Louis' eyes snapped forward quickly. Goslin broke off and focused her gaze towards the passing suburbia dissolving into rural land, convincing herself that apartment buildings and trees were more interesting than the driver. So, what if... Goslin began, trying to change the subject of business. If Dewey is guilty, he isn't, but... His eyes flickered towards her before gluing themselves back to the road. They seemed distressed. But nothing. I know for a fact Dewey wouldn't do that. He's principled. He's one of the three of us who wanted to be Uncle Scrooge the most. If he was misusing money like that, well, it just doesn't fit. People change. Some, he said barely. Not him. He's too hard-headed. She looked towards him briefly, before focusing her back on the road to her right. Bad blood? The reason I left Duckburg in the first place. Huey had already left. The two of us had a disagreement over how we should run McDuck Enterprises. Disagreement? Why am I explaining this to you? I don't want to talk about it. She grunted, Fine then. The silence expanded the air around the car like a balloon filled to burst. It held all the way to Duckburg, only a stop post stop for gas and snacks at a small rest stop outside of the city.